Well, New and Improved is a global consulting firm specifically focused on organizational development for innovation. So how might we organize ourselves inside of an organization, government, company, NGO, such that more innovation would occur than was the case before we began to work with that group. So sometimes we're doing consulting and assessment, sometimes we're doing training, sometimes we're doing facilitation, and other times it's executive coaching, but always to drive a movement towards a more innovative culture. A couple of different sessions, but the primary focus of the larger of the sessions is to take a look at what's necessary for building a culture of innovation. What are the mistakes that people commonly make when they go after that goal? What are the smart moves? And what are the dangerous obsessions? What are the things that people go after thinking, logically, that it would make sense to go after that thing, but oftentimes it's the first point of failure. And so in this session, we're going to talk about what we've learned in the organizations we've worked with, as well as with the research that we've done, to see what can be done to more sustainably create a culture of innovation instead of that one-off, occasional, serendipitous creative moment that occurs in many organizations. We want to institutionalize it, and that's what we'll be focusing on, how to do that. As people finish their time with us, what we're hoping is that they'll go to the place of organizing their efforts to drive innovation in a more sustainable way. The folks that are coming to the back end of innovation are people that are interested in changing the organizations they work in such that they can create a more sustainable innovation culture. So my hope is that they'll go back and have a bit of a roadmap, if you will, to organize their thinking about the efforts they put in place. As people like to say, you can't boil the ocean all at once, but you can be paying attention to the right pathways to move things forward in a sustainable way. So the hope is that it's about action and that people go back into their organization and implement some of what they've learned. At its most fundamental, innovation starts in a single human brain. It's the creative thought of an individual that then, if they interact with someone else around that creative thought and bring that creative thought into the world as a concept, as something they've shared, that's a good thing. And furthermore, then we build on that to create innovation when we work in an organization. So the most important, malleable, changeable thing is the human mind and the way that it creates. So any effort to drive a sustained culture of innovation must do something to develop and leverage the fact that it is these individual human beings. It must give them the tools to further foster their own creative thinking. It must give them the team dynamics such that they can interact with each other in productive ways. There need to be systems that support people inside their organization to move these creative thoughts forward. And there needs to be some way of measuring all of this so that we know when we're doing well and when we're not doing well, not just by the product or the offering outcome, by also what's going on inside the organization culturally and dynamically that will create the kind of atmosphere where individual greatness can be brought into the world in a smart way for that organization.